So, sir, please, you may proceed.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. I would like to thank the whole UBKV team for conducting such a nice national webinar on recent trends in modern and precision agriculture. As you know that it's very pertinent to know that in agriculture, what we give the inputs in form of many things, and we receive the farm produce and maybe biomass as a output. So I would like to share my thoughts on the subject and what is the recent trends, and because it's a very wide topic, so I will just touch upon each of the inputs which is used in the agriculture production, and maybe I will explain one of the input in detail so that people can have a generic understanding of the subject, how we can contribute more to agricultural production in India, and we can increase the efficiency of our inputs use. So I will share my screen now. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Visible. Sir, it is visible.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it is visible.
So everybody knows that. See, basically the application equipments for agri inputs. My talk is entirely focused on the what is its role on precision agriculture. So I will touch upon what is the precision agriculture, what is leads. I will with the definition of precision agriculture. From that only 1 or 2 points I will pick it up, because precision agriculture in itself is a very large area comprising of the management strategy to develop or maximize the yield potential with limited resources or optimized resources. Yeah, as you see that this is a definition, so many definitions of precision agriculture of late. Many people knows about precision agriculture is applying the right amount of right input at the right place at the right time. But it's a very generic definition. But if you go by the International Society for Precision Agriculture definition, which is released on July 2019, precision agriculture is a management strategy. It is not only an application of input or the right place or right side. It is entirely a management strategy that gathers, that means it senses, it measures, it gathers, process and analyze temporal, spatial and individual data and combines it with other information to support management decisions. That is, precision agriculture is a management strategy which combines all the data which is available or which can be made available through an algorithm to make management decisions like application date, application time, what is the rate of application, where is the place to apply, so on and so forth, according to estimated variability. Why we need these things? Because all of us know that the agricultural field is not homogeneous. It's having a heterogeneous nature, and so it contains different inputs like a soil nutrients or soil moisture, and it will have a variation in a field. I will go through that also in my slides. What is the aim? What is the objective for doing all these things? This management strategy and this recommending a management decision to manage this variability is for improved resource use efficiency, productivity, quality, profitability, and sustainability of agriculture production. So my talk will be focused on the improved resource use efficiency. This improved resource use efficiency is most of the time attached with the input application to the agriculture production. So if your input use efficiency is increased or improved, then automatically your productivity will increase, the quality of produce will increase, then the farmer's profitability will also increase. These all things will combine to give a sustainable agriculture production. Because as all of you know that the government of India's focus is to double the farmer's income in 2022. So if you want to increase the profitability or the doubling the income of a farmer, you need to reduce the overall production cost. Production cost comes from the inputs. So we'll just go through the inputs and what is the major inputs in agriculture production and how we can optimize or how we can improve the input use efficiency. As you all know that these are the major activities happening in a farm field during the crop cycle. From starting from the tillage or seedbed preparation for a direct seeding or planting operation, or maybe a tillage, then a seedbed preparation terms of a furrow or a bed, then you are going for a sowing planting or a transplanting. Then along with it may be fertilizer application, or you can have a fertilizer application in the during the stage of the crop cycle. Then during this, from the start, you need irrigation to sustain the soil moisture levels for a good crop growth. Combined with this, in the meantime, you need intercultivation in the form of earthing, weeding, or top dressing or side dressing of fertilizer. Then you need a plant protection to save or protect your crop from insects, fungus, or weeds. And after that, the next process comes the harvesting, then the post-harvest. So these are the major activities you have to undertake in the field during the complete crop cycle. So what is the red and green lines mean? These are the what is the level of mechanization in our Indian agriculture. If you see the level of mechanization in each of these activities, they are not good at many of the activities. Around 75% of Brazil. So we need to upgrade or improve our mechanization level. That is only possible with introduction of new equipment or doing these different activities. So if you want to do these activities, I already told that the tillage or seedbed preparation is almost 90% is mechanized, but for mechanizing the other activities, the first and foremost thing your sowing and planting has to be mechanized. The current level of mechanization in these things is around 20 to 30%, well, depending upon your crop, on the place of the crop. If you see the transplanting, most of the area we are still using a manual transplanting. We are changing to a mechanized system of transplanting due to the peak labor shortage. So, if you already mechanized a major portion of your tillage and you are in the process of mechanizing the sowing, planting, or transplanting operation, this will help the farmers to mechanize the other operations like fertilizer application, intercultivation, plant protection, and even harvesting. So we need to increase the mechanization levels of all the farm activities. Currently, what is happening in agriculture, all the farm machinery, farm equipment sector is we are putting more of the focus on tractorization rather than mechanization. We are having more than 7 lakh tractors per year sales and 8 lakh tractors production in India, but it is more and more giving it to a tractorization rather than a mechanization. So we need to focus on all the maybe R&D institutes, state universities, entrepreneurs, new startups, the existing farm manufacturers has to come with a new innovative farm equipment to raise this gap between the mechanization level what is existing to increase the mechanization level in these fields. So let us see what are the major inputs going into agricultural production. That is, I categorized into major 5 categories of agri inputs. One is farm power, energy. Farm power, what I mean is the tractor, power tiller, or a self-propelled machinery, electric motor which runs a irrigation pump. It can be an engine. It can be engine or electric motor supporting a thresher, and human labor, or it can be renewable resources. So all these things combinedly giving the energy to do this, what I saw the different agricultural operations to sustain our crop production. So this is a very major factor going on into the agriculture production, and it's a major component in terms of the cost involved in the agriculture production and in terms of the profitability of the farmer. If we can play with or reduce or optimize the use of this farm power, then we can moreover increase the productivity and also reduce the total cost of production, increase the profitability of farmer. The second and important choice is seeds. The quality of seeds determines the yield potential, because there are different varieties which is suited to different places, locality, or different agroclimatic zones. So the quality of seeds is very much important. Then what is currently is practicing is farmers are using the package of practices of different state agriculture universities or state agriculture department to apply the seeds to the field. Do we need a change to the system of uniform recommendation or uniform application of seed in terms of kg per acre or a kg per hectare? Can we change that to what should be the population required for an acre, so that we can only seed or plant that much of seeds or plants to a certain field to attain the same productivity or a same yield? We are not talking about diminishing the yield potential. We are always talking about increasing the yield potential with the optimum resource utilization. So in seeds, we are naturally doing the seeding, the application of seeds with seeding. That is seeding means seeding a bulk metering for maybe wheat, or a direct seeding of rice, other crop like mustard and others. Then you have planting, which is putting or placing single individual seeds into the field at a certain row spacing or a plant spacing. Then you have transplanting. Nowadays, there is a more emphasis on transplanting of rice seedlings. There is a mechanization, means a focus is going on. Government also putting more emphasis on subsidy on these machines. And also, there are some entrepreneurs are coming in with the development of nurseries. Maybe plugged nurseries for seedling production, or it can be a bare root seedlings. Then you can have a semi-automatic type of transplanters to transplant these seedlings from your nursery to the field. So there are these systems available for seeds to act as agri input. Then the third thing is come as a water. It's one of the major input, water, which is essential in crop production, because the its limitation or the non-availability of water at the important stages of crop growth can adversely affect the total yield. So it is a very important factor how we use the water. Unfortunately, the water use efficiency in Indian agriculture is very low. Why it is? Because we are majorly using the flood irrigation, which doesn't have that much input efficiency. Maybe we will, in the long run, we will move into something called a sprinkler drip kind of pressurized irrigation systems, combined with automation systems, which will gather data from the macroeconomic climate data from the field, and also combining it with the weather forecasts or weather forecast models and the crop growth models. Then you can optimize your irrigation schedule so that the crop gets the correct amount of water at the right time. You don't need to over-irrigate a field or under-irrigate a field. The crop will never come into a wilting point stage. So every time what is the requirement of the crop, it is always supplied by the system. So we are also moving into the direction. Startups are coming into India for, especially in this one. I will touch upon when I spoke about this input. The other thing is fertilizer. Fertilizer we apply maybe during the seeding process or as a top dressing or a side dressing after some certain stage of crop growth, majorly nitrogen, potash, phosphorus. Presently, for the last 3-4 years, Government of India is putting more emphasis on development of soil health cards, which is acting as a mode to the farmer to know what is the condition of his field and how much. Even the card gives a recommendation. In the definition stage also I told that the total aim or objective of the precision agriculture is to give a recommendation or a prescription, like a doctor gives to a patient, the recommendation to a farmer how much to apply for a different stage of yield estimate. It is not that if your yield estimate is different, then the input levels also will change. So in the fertilizers, you are having nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, and micronutrients. Systems are coming up, but not so much available in India for exactly knowing the availability of these nutrients from soil, other than soil testing. But leaf color chart or a green seeker kind of sensors or assisted devices can be used. Maybe, for example, plantings like a mobile app can be used to know what is the status of your crop so that you can change your fertilizer application rate. Then the one thing is pesticide. Most of the farmers use a huge amount of their expenditure going into the pesticide because farmer has to protect the crop from pest, insects or weeds, so that it will have the complete nature or the protection from all these things which can impact on the growth of this crop and ultimately the yield potential. So I will touch upon all these inputs one by one and give more inputs on the pesticide. What is the application equipment for agri inputs, or how we can change or how we can contribute as a researcher in this field to more development of new technology for pesticide application. And if you see that the farm power as the one input started, they show that it can be, you can divide the farm power into the total energy consumed in the farms into two categories. Major. One is direct energy input, which is actually the farmer has to pay during the crop cycle. It will be a substantial sum going into the total production cost, like labor, tractor, or in terms of diesel fuel, if you are owning a tractor and its tractor maintenance, and electricity for irrigation, and other renewable energy sources for irrigation and other things. If you convert the other inputs like machinery, what is the indirect energy inputs of a machinery? What is the energy consumed while production of a tractor or a power tiller equipment? It is also act as a indirect energy input. Then seeds, water, fertilizer, and chemicals. What is the production cost of these inputs coming into the agricultural production cycle? So these two energy inputs combined together will make a definite change to the overall energy scenario or the farm power availability in the crop production cycle. Moreover, if I say that if you have to optimize the farm power requirement in a crop cycle, even if it is the case, you need to put more energy into the Indian farms, because what is available farm power is only 2.02 kilowatt per hectare at present, and our target is around 4 kilowatt per hectare in 2030. So how it is possible? It is only possible that we need to mechanize the non-mechanized farm activities, which is currently farmers are practicing manually or maybe by animal power. So we need to farmers have the tractors, or they have the option of renting the tractors. But again, small farms, they need a small tractor and small equipment, especially for small and marginal farms, which is constituting the maximum number of the farm holdings in India. So that is limiting the factor of overall mechanization level and also the farm power availability in our Indian farms. So we need to mechanize the farm activities which are non-mechanized or at a very low level of mechanization by putting more equipment with tractor. We have tractors, we need to put more and more equipment. So some of my thoughts in how we can increase the farm mechanization levels. See, one of the major thing is efficiency of farm operations. Our almost all the farm operations, if you take it as a general perception or a convention, it is around 70% efficiency of farm operation. Why it is coming? Because our speed of operation of majority of equipment is very low. It's not increased for the last 10 to 20 years. So we need to increase the operating speed of equipment. Can we increase the operating speed of equipment without compromising the effectiveness of the application methodology or application techniques or mechanism used by our farmers or in the available equipment? So we need to think about that also. Can we change or improve the existing system of application mechanisms in our systems? The third one is fuel efficiency of tractor, power tiller and self-propelled equipment. Can we increase the fuel efficiency of this equipment, which is a diesel guzzling equipment? Efficiency of irrigation pump. There are standards are coming up to increase the efficiency of irrigation pump. How we can increase with maybe selecting the sort of irrigation system for our farms. Then matching of equipment with the tractor power.
8.55. Yes,
Please unmute your mics, please. Yeah. Matching of equipment with tractor power. See what is happening if we have in India the tractor industry offering around 10 to 90 HP range of tractors. So do we have a equipment portfolio which can cater to this range of tractors? No. So it is very much necessary that when the tractor manufacturer or the equipment manufacturer or the dealer, when he is giving or selling the equipment, he has to match the equipment with the available pump power, even as a tractor or a power tiller. So it's very important. Then seasonal calibration of equipment, which should be mandatory. The efficiency of your equipment depends upon are you calibrating your equipment, even if it's a seed drill or a planter or a fertilizer applicator or even a pesticide sprayer. You need to calibrate it seasonally to know what is the performance of your equipment so that your efficiency is not compromised or your application rate is not compromised. Then one of my thoughts in this regard is development of modern equipment for marginal and small farmers, which may be low cost, which can be easily usable by farmers, easily repairable for the local vendors. Maybe it's not necessary that we can go for a power tiller operated or a small engine based one. Maybe we can go for a battery operated, because the electrical power in terms of battery is coming up with not much cost. So we need to think about that also, development of some equipment which can help the farmers to undertake some of the farm activities using electrical power or a battery power. Then comes, I will take about the other inputs like seeds. Seeds has to be applied to the field for a proper population. In India, when you calibrate a seed drill, usually what you do is for a particular application rate. Maybe it's a 100 kg per hectare or 150 kg per acre scenario. But you're never thinking about how much population you are required from that application rate. It is better to have a population rate in your mind from by calculation from a population rate to find out what should be the application rate. So it is not necessary that if you are using a variety for a particular agroclimatic zone or a particular locality, your 100 kg may come to 80 kg or 70 kg, because you are always dependent upon calculating on what is the population to be grown in a particular field. So depending upon your germination percentage and depending upon your variation in your seed drill application rate, you can manage the application rate and thus calibrate the seed drill. Calibration of equipment. For the last 20-30 years, because I am talking about the recent trends in equipment, 20-30 years, there is not much change in what we see or called a seed drill. It is almost the same design. Fluted roller is in every seed drills. We not gone beyond this fluted roller to more accurate method of seeding, maybe a precision metering kind of thing, which can have a lesser variation in application rate. In one of my studies, which shows that if you are using a fluted roller for wheat, the variation, if you go with a average or a mean value, even then it will come plus or minus 10%. But if you go with the distance traveled by the equipment, the variation is very huge. It can go up to 15%. So if this kind of variation is already available in your equipment, how you can do a precision agriculture? Because precision agriculture is always talk about the precise amount, optimal amount of input for a particular yield potential. So we need to change our design for the record. Only the material change from maybe from a aluminum floated roller to a nylon floated roller, a plastic floated roller doesn't change much. We need to think of more of a design change in the mechanism of metering of seeds. Then precision planting equipment. If you see, the same precision equipment plant is used for a direct seeding of rice. It is always using a inclined plate planters. The efficiency or the singulation efficiency of the inclined plate planters are not so high. It's maybe 80 to 85%. When you are doing a planting, it has to be precision planting because you are only putting one seed at one place. So you have to be very careful that your equipment has the ability to singulate one seed at a time and place the seed at a proper distance and proper depth. Moreover, in these cases, when you are using a planter, the depth of planting is very important. All our planters recently, the equipment manufacturers introducing pneumatic planters especially for maize, in which they are having a forward linkage mechanism which is taking care of the variability in the field levels. When you have a field level and you don't have a mechanism to cater the difference in height, then what happens? The depth of planting will change. It will adversely affect the germination percentage. So you have to think that when you go for a precision agriculture scenario, your equipment has to have the capability to do a precision metering, precision placement of your inputs at the correct place. Then planting equipment for vegetables, small splits of medicinal and aromatic plants. Nowadays, more of emphasis is also giving into diversification of our crop. When you are doing a diversification of crop, you are introducing new crop like medicinal or aromatic plants, then you need equipment to cater this. So the seed size of these crops are very small. Maybe you can think about how you can increase the singulation efficiency and accurate placing of the seeds using a seed pelleting scenario. So then you are having the third option of transplanting equipment. Nowadays we are having equipment manufacturers, maybe most of them are importing rice transplanters from China or other countries to support the farmers in transplanting. However, Indian technology has to be developed or supported by manufacturers to develop indigenous technology. Maybe almost to support the farmers to do a rice transplanting. In the other scenario, when you are doing a vegetable cultivation or a vegetable plantation, then there are two scenarios. One is the usual practice is you raise a nursery, you remove the bare root seedlings, then you are transplanting it in furrows or buds manually. The same can be planted with a semi-automatic transplanter. Again, the human labor is involved, but the accuracy and the distance between the plants and the row spacing can be controlled much more accurately than in a semi-automatic transplanter rather than a manual transplanting. So we need to develop such systems more effectively. Then another area of research which is happening, that automation of these machines, how we can automate. Bare root seedlings, when you talking about the transplanting, is very difficult to automate because the singulation of bare root seedlings is it's a complex issue, and automation is a very much problematic. But when you talk about a plug tray or a pot seedling, there is already a systematic of availability of seedlings in the pot tray. The system may be if a robotic hand or a pneumatic system which can pluck the seedlings from the seed tray and plant it at the correct depth and the correct distance. This is also a under development by many of the state agriculture universities and other research institutes. I told about how we can change the system of seed metering from a conventional seed metering system which is having a inherent variation to a more precise metering systems. Some of the examples I shown here. From a fluted roller, simple fluted roller, you can almost the same system which can be developed into a precision seed metering system. And a planting, the England plate planter can be improved upon maybe by a combination of finger tip metering and a pneumatic system or a simple pneumatic system to make it more accurate. Maybe it's efficient as more than 95%. So these things has to come into picture, and these things has to be incorporated in our seed drills so that farmers can practice precision metering, so that we can recommend the actual plant population in this certain field rather than a blanket recommendation of kg per hectare. Some of the transplanters I show, what is a rice transplanter and a semi-automatic transplanters which are under development. Maybe in the 3 to 5 years it will pick up with the increase of entrepreneurs coming up development of nursery seedlings. The third input is water. How you can optimize the irrigation schedule of water. Presently, what farmers are following with their experience, they are scheduling the water. Maybe it's a flood irrigation. You see, some of the states which is having a subsidized electricity for water pumps. Then the farmers are don't much emphasis on water use efficiency because the electricity is free, water in the ground is free. Then you can do as much as they can. But what is the result which is showing currently in Punjab? The groundwater table levels are going down drastically, and maybe by 2030 there will be a shortage of groundwater table for even for drinking purpose. So it's going into a red zone. So we have to be very careful when we looking into the future for a sustainable agriculture production with how we use each of our agri inputs, in which one of the most critical things are, one is our soil and the second one is water. So how we can use water, how we can optimize the usage of water, how we can schedule this, because the scheduling is a major problem when you have to irrigate. So you can increase the efficiency of your water usage or water application by using, maybe they're choosing the right irrigation technology, like the sprinkler drip or subsurface irrigation. Maybe they're choosing the right pump or choosing the right energy source. However, it will not allow the farmer to choose the accurate time or the right time for water application. It has to be come from your technology. Maybe a feedback from the soil or the soil moisture sensor. There are many companies coming up in the developed countries or in India, which is providing this as a service. Service on a subscription basis, in which they install their sensors. Maybe it's a soil moisture sensor with a soil temperature or a micro weather data. But it's a weather data available at that particular farm, which is combined with the weather data or weather data forecast or a block model. You can schedule your water application. So in this way, what happens? The farmer knows when to irrigate. It is not that okay, every 15 days I have to irrigate. Even if there is a rain, maybe after irrigation I irrigate today, there may be rain tomorrow. So farmers also are changing their way of doing these things or application of water by looking into what is the weather forecast. even state governments through their KVKs or state agriculture departments are providing advisory when is the rain is expected, so that you can plan your irrigation. But it can be automated. Then there is not much cost involved. If you deploy or install maybe a low cost irrigation scheduler, which we developed with CDAC, with the pump, it can cater to even a flood irrigation scenario. You can program it, you can feedback with a soil moisture sensor, and you can manage when to irrigate. It will automatically start the pump and choose the right areas where to give the irrigation. So technology has to come up with, especially in water application technology, with combination of controller which controls the irrigation pump and the solenoid valves which will irrigate a particular parcel of your land, and combine this with the other technologies like maybe artificial intelligence coupled with the weather data, weather forecast data. One Israeli company is coming up with a technology which is not using any sensors in the field. It is only using the weather forecast coupled with their artificial intelligence algorithm to predict when the crop requires the water. So you can plan it. Recently, they are doing some experiment in India, in South India. Maybe in the coming future, the technology or the water application scheduling maybe wholly depend upon these kind of technologies. Not that maybe it's automatic process which will relieve the farmer from worrying about the water usage of the crop or the water application. Then the fourth one is the fertilizer, which is again required by the plants, but how much? Who knows how much? Because the crop, as per the agronomy, is for a particular crop or a particular variety of a crop, you need a certain kind of or a certain amount of fertilizer. But it all depends upon what is available in the soil nutrient. Every year when you are doing a blanket application of fertilizer in your soil, and the same is not taken by the plant, because there is always a limit by the crop for taking up the nutrient from the field. Then what is happening to the remaining nutrients? It will, for example, for urea, it can volatilize to the atmosphere. For other nutrients, it can leach out into the ground aquifer or the water resource, which can again pollute your water resources. Both these things are detrimental to our environment, which is not a particularly favorable condition for our sustainable agriculture production. So we need to be very careful up to what percentage of fertilizer we are giving to the field or to the crop for its maximum intake and maximum yield. So how we can do this? We can do this in two scenarios. One is what is the available soil nutrient in soil nutrients. Maybe the major nutrients like NPK or some of the micronutrients like boron, iron and copper, like something like that. You can have the testing of your soil, maybe a grid sampling from a 1 acre or 2 acre field, so that you can have a generic idea about what is available, what is the soil nutrient available in your soil. There are some of the models which is developed with the soil electric conductivity, soil organic carbon to predict what is the available nitrogen, which is a much more developed technology in terms of nitrogen. But in terms of other phosphorus or potassium, we don't have that technology. Even the nitrogen technology, to predict the nitrogen technology is not available, so that we can give the farmer what is the actual availability of this nitrogen in your soil. So how to determine the application rate? The application rate is determined by the requirement of your crop, the availability of the soil nutrients, and what should be your yield. There is a potential yield. So based on these three things, you put the data into an algorithm to calculate the application rate of fertilizer. Basically, people are doing it for nitrogen, not for other crops. Currently, we are also worked with one form for measuring the variability of soil nutrients in a field. For the surface of us, even a half acre or a 1 acre field have a variation in your soil nutrient availability. So it's very much pertinent that what you apply in terms of fertilizer, you have to be very careful. You only need to apply the optimal quantity of fertilizer, and other things where you are applying, what is the depth and position of fertilizer with respect to the seed. So this is also will impact on the intake of the nutrients by the crop. Top dressing or side dressing, which is done manually, maybe in the short term or the long time, people will come up with the equipments. We are working with the Punjab Agriculture University to develop a system, variable rate technology, with sensor data, real-time sensor data. We can put in the sensor data. We can convert the same with algorithm to application rate, then apply the fertilizer as a top dressing. Then no need to correlate with available soil nutrients with crop requirement. Ineffective application. I also already told you, most of the time people do a ineffective application. Maybe you just put in the urea in the above surface or in the furrow, which can volatilize if you are not putting the depth. If it is possible to maybe make a small piece of cut in the soil, then put it there, then it will have a much more effective solution. Then variable rate fertilizer application may be an effective solution. We don't know. Because can it be a viable solution? Because the variation in your field has to be such a wider range. Then only the variable rate fertilizer is show some promise. If the variation is not so much, then there is no need to go for a variable rate application. Some of the data what we did with the soil, this is purely from soil testing. We are not using any sensors or algorithms, but we did with equipment called Veris for soil pH and soil organic matter, which is combined to give a accurate data on soil organic carbon and the nitrogen. So you see that there is a variation in your soil pH, soil organic carbon and electrical conductivity, which is even in phosphorus. This is the data of around half an acre. So you can see that even if a field, half acre field, there is a variation exists. So there are two technologies available for your fertilizer application. One is I already told you we are working on the sensor based technology, which has the advantage that at the real time you are sensing the crop requirement, how much the fertilizer requirement of the plant, and you are applying the same rate based on an algorithm. And moreover, the additional advantage is that you can have the possibility of acquiring the data. What is the health of the plant in terms of maybe NDVI or other parameters of the complete field. Then you can analyze as a offset for processing and better data for the next time. You can correlate with your what is the yield data coming up from that parcel of land. The second thing is you have already done a mapping with a drone, maybe a multispectral camera or a hyperspectral camera or simple NDVI camera. You already have a map. You already have a map made with a drone. Then you can combine it with your yield data, which is not available in India due to the non-availability of its yield sensors in our combines. So if you have a yield data or a potentially, then you can come up with a prescription based application data, application map, which can be fed into again the same equipment, which can act as a input to the applicator so that the same level can be applied. For these things to happen, one of the major key issue is the accuracy of your GPS. Nowadays, cheap GPS solutions are available, which will enable Indian researchers to come up with solution which will enable the variable rate fertilizer or an accurate mapping of this data. I think I have 15 minutes. I will talk about the other major input called pesticide. We did some work with PAU and CSIO in developing a electrostatic sprayer nozzle, which is technology is commercialized and is available in India. And after our development, fortunately, most of the researchers see the potential of this technology, electrostatic technology for pesticide application, and coming up with projects. And even MTech and PhD students are working on different methodology of electrostatic technology. So when you apply a pesticide, most of the critical issues, the importance of application equipment. What application equipment is using for which pesticide? It can be a herbicide, it can be a fungicide or a insecticide. Which type of nozzle you are using? There is recommendation for each of these things. The farmer has to be educated regarding these things, and also moreover how to calibrate. Sprayer calibration and nozzle calibration is one of the critical area in terms of your application efficiency and in terms of your sustainable future. So some of the developed countries are currently bringing out new legislation to force the farmers to do calibration, maybe seasonal calibration, so that the farmer also know my equipment is working properly with proper efficiency and accuracy and giving the correct application rate. So what is the objective of application of these agrochemicals? Always we want to destroy the pests or insects or the weeds. Is it possible 100%? No. Because most of the pests or insects are living in the underside of the leaves. So what are the technologies which can help the farmers to spray the liquid or spray the droplets so that it can attach to the underside of the leaf? What is the drift? Farmer sprays, maybe using a conventional hydraulic nozzle with an knapsack or a tractor mounted sprayer. The drift causes the environmental pollution. Most of the spraying what happens, most of this spray droplets which is very low, less in size, will evaporate or move into drift with the wind. The bigger one drops to the ground. So there is a very less percentage of actually get into your leaves, which will lower the bioefficacy of your pesticide application. So the people are working on it, and how we can do a precision spray, how you can apply the pesticide more precisely into the crop. So the definition of precision spraying is it incorporates modern technology to minimize the amount of input, that is the pesticide applied, improving field application accuracy and uniformity. In application of pesticide, it's very important that when you apply pesticide, you have to be very sure about the uniformity and accuracy of your application. Where you are, because there is a change that when your forward speed is changing, what will happen? Your application rate may change. When your speed of the tractor change, it will change. When the pressure of the pump change, the application rate will change. There are so many things which can change the uniformity of your application. Currently, people are working on, maybe for the last 5 years, working on how can we see the data, that is how much accurately we are applying this pesticide in the field there. So people are coming up with technologies which can gather the data from the field itself. Maybe using a IoT platform, you can gather this data from the equipment itself for analysis afterwards, which can help in development of application protocol in the next time. So in the precision spraying, there are 4 kinds of precision. Because just I want to give an emphasis on this thing, because whenever researchers are doing such kind of thing, it is applicable to other inputs also, but presently people are more concentrating this on the precision application. That is a special position. Special is the position where you are putting the pesticide. Can your application rate is uniform with the place of application? Dosing position, your flow rate is correct amount of spray is delivering or not, control of the flow rate. I don't know, people may not be imagining you can control the flow rate from each of the nozzles. That is the kind of technology is coming up in this area, because everybody is concerned about its environmental problems. Then the consistency, what is the spray distribution, evenness of spray. if you see that when you spray something, the application rate has to be very even. Then temporal precision, the time wise. You start from this place to other place, even the time is your accuracy is correct. When you are doing a variable rate spraying kind of system, it is very important. How much time you are taking for a stop-start situation. It's for a general thing. This is about our developed electrostatic nozzle for more improved precision kind of spraying. Because conventionally we are doing a high volume spraying. Using an electrostatic system, we can calm down its way ultra low volume spraying, reduce the total amount of pesticide, total amount of water being used, increasing the bioefficacy of your system. In this one, what is the major thing? After the droplet formation, it is going through a high voltage system. It's a induction charging of the droplets is taking place, and the droplets are being charged with the negative ions, and it will the air which is taking this negatively charged droplets to the leaf. So what is happening due to this electrostatic charging of droplets? There is a tendency to wrap around. The droplets will wrap around the leaves and going to the underside of the leaf. So in this way, what is happening? You can see the efficacy of your electrostatic nozzle. Exposed surface, the first above one is there is no charging the droplets. The below one there is a charging the droplets. The hidden surface is having many droplets, which can increase the bioefficacy of your pesticide. Some of the other technologies which is currently developed or marketed in developed countries, it's one of the promising technologies, the magnetic spraying technology. This is a variation of your electrostatic technology. In the electrostatic technology, you are using a electrical current, electrical voltage to give a negative charge to the droplets. In the magnetic spraying technology, rare earth magnets are used to give a magnetic attraction to the droplets so that it can attach to the leaves. It almost having, it's the most important thing is the drift is very much reduced, 80% less drift in this technology. The technology is available in all the forms from knapsack to field sprayers, field mount sprayers. One of the other technology which is maybe for 3-4 years which is coming up with a sports spray, where you these are some kind of recent trends which is coming up in the pesticide, where you need to spray, you spray only there. It's a sports spraying kind of scenario. You just sense where is the weeds available. This is the first one is I shown in the case of the weeds. You are applying a herbicide or a weedicide in case of crop, and the system will sense where is the weed. Then the sprayer only sprays that position. You are not spraying any other place. So the total amount of pesticide requirement comes to a very low position. The other technology is the combination. Many people in India, universities also worked in air boom technology. That is mixing of air when you spray with the liquid using a conventional hydraulic pump or a hydraulic nozzle. So in this one, what they did, it's called a smart sprayer. They have a tunnel. It can be very much useful in a row crop scenario. They're using a airstream which gives a turbulence inside the row crop inside the tunnel, and the spraying happens. In that way, what happens? Due to this air turbulence, the surface or top surface and underside of the leaves are exposed to the droplets. So the efficiency and deposition rate of the droplets will increase. The third one is, it's regarding to the orchard spray. We are having a orchard sprays available in India. Nowadays people are using electrostatic also. But this is some of the technology using image processing and AI and other kind of things. Because in between the orchard crops, you can start the spraying. That is called a crop adaptive spraying. The system will see what is the canopy size and adjust the spraying for that place only. They are not spraying the throughout. You are adjusting the angle of your spraying for. So these are some of the my thoughts about the application equipment for agri inputs, and the key points coming up from this presentation. Agriculture is reliant on the timely availability of inputs. Again, emphasizing that timely availability of inputs. We need to increase the input use efficiency. Almost every reports, everything coming up. One of the major thing is everybody is focusing is we need to increase the input use efficiency. The second one, farm power share of agri production expenses varies widely by activity. That is happens with farm power. When the farmer's land holding size increases, automatically the farm power usage will increase. He has to. Because when the farm size increases, he has to rely more on the farm power, all mechanization scenario. Adoption of management strategies for optimum use of inputs. Development of innovative solutions or equipment for input application I already covered. More focus on research on input application equipment. We need to concentrate more on development of this application equipment and the variation in application rate. Integration of artificial intelligence, as in the last speaker said, automation, robotics, sensors, ICT technology is the equipment for both ways. One is for application scenario and gathering of data from the field. Adoption of modern technologies or custom. Modern technologies, I mean what is available in the developed countries or customize it for Indian conditions. Then the lastly, precision agriculture and conservation agriculture can make a significant impact on increasing the overall efficiency of our crop production in Indian agriculture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pradeep Rajan sir, for giving us valuable information regarding the application of different agri inputs equipments. And you have covered almost most of the means equipments which is really related for the any agriculture crop productions, and also enlighten us to put the right technology at a right way in a right place. So, and you have given the and enlightened us the means various technologies available for seed drill planters and how we can increase the accuracy of the plantation so that we can get good generations from per unit land area. And also you have given the informations, the different sprayers and the pesticides or the fungicides applicators are available, and what are the knowledge gap is theirs and how we can increase the efficiency. So thank you very much for your giving us the valuable informations regarding the agri inputs equipments available in India or also in the world. So now I would like to ask the audience or the participants if you have any questions regarding this presentation. So you may ask by unmuting your mic or by raising your hand so that we can unmute to you. Thank you. Okay, there is one question from our faculty members.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, actually I want to ask, is there any weeder available for the row-to-row planting? Already it was available, but in the plant-to-plant spacing, is there any weeder available or any technology available we can mechanically weed that place, that in between the plant-to-plant?
Yeah, actually in India, if you talk about, there is no such technology is available, because for doing such a, it's called an intra-row.
Yes, sir.
Intra-row weeding. I think you mean about intra-row, between the weeds, plants, right?
Yeah, between the plants, sir, actually.
Yeah. In case of orchards, we developed a rotavator kind of thing which can go up in between your plants. But due to for other normal crops like soybeans, sugarcane, or maize,
yes,
or any other vegetable crops or row crops, right? The technology is not available in India. But in foreign countries, there is some development happened which integrates with the seed processing technology with a mechanical system, which will use it as a input. The image processing will use as an input to see where is the position between to move the tool. So it's a mechanical tool to do the interval. But there is always a possibility that simple technology can be, you can use a herbicide spray if you only want to destroy the weeds. But if you want to do some kind of tilling or a shallow tilling between the plants, then you need to go for a mechanical system. Some of our R&D institutes or state agriculture university started working in this area of doing it. We also having some information because the first of foremost thing is that you have to differentiate between the weeds and the plant.
Yes, sir.
Because we don't have the accurate planting mechanism or a transplanting system that you know that our plant spacing is always the same. There is a lot of variation.
Yes,
so you need to depend upon the image processing technique. So people are working maybe by maybe a short term, 3 to 5 years, we will see some technology commercially available.
Yes,
but at present there is no technology.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I think one question is there from Dr. Tushar Patel. Dr. Tushar Patel, are you there? Dr. Patel? Yes, you can ask your question. Is it Subramanian?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I am Dr. Subramanian, Director of Research from Tamil Nadu Agriculture University. As you all know, TNAU, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, is known for innovation. We started working with drones, we started with automation and robotics and so on. And I was in Canada for a long time, 5-6 years. And one equipment does many things. Like if you go to Canada, northern part of Canada, you have a vehicle. It has a GPS, it has a fertilizer applicator, herbicide applicator, seeder, everything put together in one machine. And it does many jobs very accurately. And because I have seen this presentation very nicely presented, first of all, I have to compliment the presenter. Very nicely done. And what is the current status of Indian agriculture? You know, some of the equipment which I have seen it in foreign countries, do we have some miniaturized version of the equipment which can do many input applications together more efficiently?
Yeah, Dr. Vijay, regarding to your this input, thank you for your this thing. But there is actually no equipment available for such a scenario. Even when I talk with manufacturers regarding increasing the efficiency of your existing machines, people are not very much interested because what they are telling that our equipment is selling in the market with there is no problem. So why should we invest more to increase the application efficiency? But so that is why I put in my presentation that researchers in the field of farm machinery has to come up with some of the more innovative thinking in development of metering systems. Because even if you look for the basic equipments, just forget about the multiple things coming into a single machine. Even if a single machine, we don't have that much accuracy.
Okay.
We need to maybe put in more effort, maybe by research organization, maybe ICR and other institutions by collaborating themselves between maybe engineering colleges to develop more and more technologies, because it's not viable that you develop technologies in a short time. You need to have something in the medium term vision to develop these technologies. Always what is happening, I just want to share, what is happening, the vision for development of technology in the long run is also always there.
Okay.
But the ground truth is that nobody is working to achieve that vision.
Yeah. Just to cite an example of a Canadian farmer. who has he just interacted with me. He's a small farmer. He has got about 800 acres, just managed by one individual, and he has got a tractor-like machinery in which all attachments are together. So he goes do the sowing, fertilizer, herbicide, insecticide, everything is applied at once. Next time he will go only for harvest. Yeah. So the Indian agriculture is changing towards that, because we don't have a very active farmer going to the field every time. So we need some sort of mechanization which can reduce the labor, because the labor availability in India is shrinking very fast, particularly Tamil Nadu. We have very intensely, under constraint of labor. So that's why we started working with drones. We use drones now for spray of insecticide, herbicide, and so on. Within 2 minutes, we can cover 1 acre. So we do just bit and pieces are being done. We put everything together: fertilizer applicator and a drone for sprays and robotics for weed management and all. We put it together. It is a nice setting. I think I can just pose a question. I can interact with you later. I'm the director of research, so I'm known for innovation and introduce innovation in agriculture. And certainly, whatever you mentioned, it will be of great help. You be in touch with us so that I can get your expertise for our university.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for our excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Any other questions from participant?
Praveen Prasad. Praveen Prasad, you can mute yourself.
Sir, my question is this: in Indian environment, we are having a lot of problem of biotic and abiotic condition in agriculture. So what you feel that this type of a new technology where the farmer is having 75% farmer is having a less than 2 acre of land, this technology is sustainable with this farmer, and what is the future of this technology you feel in India, sir?
See, Praveen, technology is always a assistive device, right? What is happening in sadly, what has happened in the Indian agriculture is that most of the institutions and even the government system has been focused on development of a technology which can be used with the 35 HP tractor, right? Which is common to Indian agriculture. Nobody was taken emphasis on developing technologies for our smaller marginal farmers, which is recently been adopted. What is happening now? There is a certain change. It's not that people are not changing. Small and marginal farmers are changing, because I am always interacting with these people. What the farmers also want, they want to complete the work in a very short time. For example, if the small or marginal farming have a 15 HP tractor, okay, it will complete a 1 acre maybe in 3 hours. But a 35 HP tractor can cover it in maybe 45 minutes. So farmer is always in the idea of completing his activity in a very shorter time. Nowadays, what is happening? If you see, I don't know if you are following the Indian agricultural setup and the startup. Most of the startup is coming in agricultural scenario is providing advisories or assisted services to the farm. It's something called a FAAS pass. So what is happening? Most of this investment is coming up to provide advisory or services to the farmers. But what will happen in the near future is that you don't need to buy any capital equipment. The services will be given by your farm services provider, maybe FSP. Okay, but moreover, you will be surprised to know there is one of the most item imported from China is a small mini rotor, mini tiller or a rotavator kind of thing, which will be a boon to the farmer who is a small marginal farmer. So such kind of things we need to develop. Maybe a small engine operator tiller, fertilizer applicator, maybe a harvester, maybe a cultivator, maybe a sprayer. So everything, as Dr. Subramaniam was saying, maybe a small THP powered mini tiller can be developed which can integrate with all these facilities, which will help a smaller marginal farmers. But definitely, technology has to be there, which will we need to assist the small and marginal farmers. Then only the effectiveness of input use efficiency will increase, the yield will increase. There is a lot of yield gap between the farmers who uses farm mechanization and those who doesn't. So we need to put in more emphasis on farm mechanization rather than tractorization. I am not in favor of tractorization, which is happening now, because one of the earlier meetings I told that India is Atmanirbhar on tractors, but we have to only nirbhar on farm equipment. We have to work hard to be Atmanirbhar on our farm equipment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Thank all of you, all the participants, and thanks Rajan sir, Dr. Rajan sir, for your valuable contribution and speech to our webinar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.